Hello and welcome everybody to today's webinar, which is part of our Buy Social Business from Social Enterprise Scotland webinar series. And today's webinar is titled Supplying with Impact, Social Enterprises and the Construction Sector. So for those that don't know me, my name's Jamie Lawson and I'll be the moderator for today's call, and I'm sort of supported by my colleagues within Social Enterprise Scotland, Janice Nicholl and Naya Humphreys. So just a quick overview of what we'll be covering today. So I'll do a quick introduction. We'll then pass over to Ross Hammell, who's the sort of from McTaggart Construction. So Ross is the sort of corporate social responsibility manager for McTaggart Construction. The session should last approximately about 50 minutes, but we've got time to extra up to an hour if there are more questions or if anybody has got any other points that they'd like to raise. We'll have a sort of Q&A after Ross's presentation, and then I can give an update along with my colleague Janice just about the progress of the Buy Social Business pledge and some of the future events that we'll be holding as part of this webinar series. So delighted to introduce our sort of main speaker for today, Ross from McTaggart Construction. Ross has got over 10 years experience working within the community benefit construction sector. And as I mentioned, he's now been promoted to the corporate social responsibility manager for McTaggart Construction. So delighted to have Ross along to today's session. Feel free to use the chat Q&A box throughout the presentations, or if you wish to just hold your questions until we get to the interactive Q&A at the end of the session. And so, the whole process is about, how we can look to connect, social enterprises more with the construction sector and supply more to the construction sector. So with no further ado, let's get started. So Ross, I'll let you take control of the session now if you want to bring your slides up and introduce yourself, Ross. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jamie. So, morning, everybody. I'm Ross Hammell, Corporate Social Responsibility Manager for McTaggart Construction. Really what that means is within my remit, I'm responsible for our social value commitment, our sustainability plans, and really just how the business projects its kind of positive image. We are almost 100% focused on the delivery of affordable housing from Dundee to Dumfries and from Dumfries and Galloway all the way through to the East Coast in Kelso, Selkirk type area. So, fairly well centralised in the kind of, I suppose, slightly wider than Central Scotland region, but really focused on social housing delivery. And really for us, and for me, when I took on the role and came back to McTaggart's, it was about McTaggart Construction creating an opportunity through housing to look at that kind of wider impact. We've got the kind of tagline of providing homes, building communities, and then really going that beyond the bricks and mortar. And it's something there that the company's kind of allowed me that kind of freedom to create a sustainable procurement plan. And I'll touch on that a wee bit is through the presentation, and create a stronger identity through social value as we try and respond to not just social value obligations, but try and ease that process through national planning framework, community wealth building. So come on to that. I thought it really important, and this is to kind of touch on the redress of our mission, vision, and values. The construction sector is a kind of changing sector, and Um, Companies have to respond to how they support communities, how they support that wider impact, community versus profit, value for money to the clients and stuff there. So we took that on board in last year to our kind of late 2024. We readdressed our mission, vision, and values to really focus on responding to client needs and responding to that connection. So are listening to the clients, are listening to the areas, developing relationships with local areas, local supply chains being a huge aspect to that. We build success on reputation, so very much focusing on our reputation as a business, our integrity as a business, being real kind of factors there that we want to do that. And that's something there that we've kind of continued on through our supply chain. And then creating connections and that whole connecting with businesses is really us going out and finding relationships with supply chain members, SME. I mean, McTaggart's as a business, we are a larger size SME, but 90% of our supply chain is SME on the smaller side down to micro-based businesses. That is the basis of our supply chain. So we are sitting at anything between 40 to 80% local business supply on our new build housing projects, which is huge. So that is something there that we really actively tried to capture in our mission, vision, and values. And as I said there, as we look at our mission, vision, and values, it's about how we represent that to our clients. And the listen, build, connect message was quite bold, and for us it was quite bold, quite clear, and it was something there that as we move into the new year, it's something we're really got to project out. So our social journey, if you want to call it that, I'll be honest, it started a few years ago. One of our biggest clients is the Wheatley Group, and as a result of that Wheatley Group, we don't have a contractual obligation to work with RSBI and as being our kitchen supplier, being a social enterprise, but we have used them in a significant amount. So our social journey started kind of long before we signed up to the social pledge, but we were the first house builder to sign the social pledge. And as a result of that, we kind of used that as a bit of a catalyst to start the engagement process with much more emphasis being on if a social enterprise or there is a social enterprise or supported business out there that can provide that service, why are we not approaching them for bidding, tendering purposes? Now, I'll be honest, that's not to say that some of the prices that we had back when we've engaged with these organisations are non-competitive, and I'll come on to that in a wee bit, but it was that willingness, it was that commitment. James Friel, who you see in the picture with Janice, he joined the business just about 2 years ago, and he's the commercial director, and he's very open to that. If the quality is there, if the supply is there, then why can we not engage with social and supported business in Scotland? And so James is very much on board with that active procurement plan. So for us, we kind of said that we, as part of our sustainable procurement approach, we wanted 40% local business, 40% as a minimum, and within that, we wanted to target local SMEs, support social and supported business, local employability providers being kind of core aspects of that. And to be honest, it's something there that's started to pay dividends. We wanted to reduce risk, start small, look at the procurement onboarding, look at our framework requirements, and very much simplify them. And that goes for not just social enterprise business, that goes for SME supply chain, local brickies, local joiners, really simplify your procurement onboarding. And it's something there that we've invested quite a lot of time in. It's about us identifying capability and capacity and quality being that rather than getting people to jump through loads of hurdles to get on the supply chain. We've got a very, very simplified onboarding process, and that's something there that our health and safety, our construction teams, our commercial teams have really driven forward. So there's something there we're quite pleased at. So I suppose for us, I'll kind of share some of the key highlights. We're very proud that 2024 into 25, we were over £500,000 spent with social and supported business. This year to date, we are over £180,000 spent, and the kind of goods and services that we've been able to procure cover everything from skills and training, supply, signage, PPE. We've hosted a number of different engagement events, and this is something there that we're really keen on building on. We have provided tendering advice. We've managed to mitigate risks within that. We've looked at how a social and supported business can fill particular gaps, or if there's existing products that we've had long-standing relationships with suppliers, we've kind of tested some of that and went out to some other suppliers. So we've had a good success with it, and it's something there as a business we're really keen in trying to progress on and explore other avenues, explore other opportunities there. Felt as though it was important to kind of raise the fact that we are still a hugely commercial business, and well, yes, we have got social value obligations, but there is a balance of social and commercial, and the cost is no conscience is really key for us, and that's kind of proven examples when we've went out to some businesses, particularly run about things such as PPE being an aspect, other parts of supply, kitchens, even some training providers, that we are very conscious that there is a fine margin between social value return and commercial viability. They have to be aligned. That genuinely for us, our margins in affordable housing are very small. Some of our profits are as low as 8% on some of our social housing projects. So commercial viability is crucial for us. So again, we're very much focused on how do we reduce barriers? How do we get cost viability? Can we simplify payment terms? So that was something there that when we've worked with not just social enterprise, but SME businesses in general, our payment terms are less than 30 days. And that's something there about keeping cash flow going for some of these organisations. That's a crucial aspect. That was something there that our accounts teams and stuff like that, we had to really kind of try and work on how do we increase payment terms. So championing prompt payments being an essential part for cash flow. Breaking down contract terms, simplifying that, being an absolute thing there. And then really try to kind of just start to open some doors to have conversations there. We've got a new procurement lead as well, which really helps there to kind of start having new conversations, and whether that's good supply, and I'll come on to some of the kind of good supply stuff that we've done, even down to things like welfare support, well-being support for our staff there, being skills and training and employability being huge aspects for us. But it's something there to be very conscious of when engaging with the construction industry, that the fact that cost is king, and that fine balance of commercial viability versus the social value is a big moral dilemma for us in the construction sector, and I'll be honest there, the for us cost will always win. So commercial viability is huge. As we move into some of the kind of practical examples, the net zero was something there that we looked at. We've got a new net zero strategy, and we looked at working with community wood recycling. I don't know if any of the guys for the community wood are on there. We looked at community wood for being able to provide us with a recycling service. But I'll be honest, cost viability wasn't there. So then we looked at maybe working with them on a niche, and the niche being pallets. And something simple is pallet collection. In construction, we generate wastage through deliveries, through pallets, in a phenomenal scale. So what we've on our larger sites, we don't recycle pallets through a wood recycling, like using our waste carrier. We recycle them through using community wood. And it's something as simple as that is gave us commercial viability. For example, we would put 200 pallets in a skip, and it would cost us the same amount as using community wood recycling. So why do we not use community wood recycling? And that's what I'm saying about having conversations with contractors about you might not be able to do the whole package, but can you break something up into a smaller chunk, that's a relatable issue. I hope that kind of makes sense, but I thought it was a really good example of the being able to take all their supply, all their waste wasn't a financially viable option for us, but a particular part of that became a viable option. So we're currently working with Community Wood on a couple of sites for something as simple as pallet collection. And that's something there that might be able to provide your organisations with a bit of a niche to kind of look at maybe smaller chunks of the contract, smaller bits of the kind of goods and services that might be able to supply. We've always championed as an organisation skills and training. We have, as a business, we've got 33 different employability pipelines, and a huge range of different training providers. But one of the things that we've been really able to champion over the past couple of years is the use of social and supported business for not just a talent pool, but for developing our workforce. So we work really closely with these pictures. There are our Capital City Partnerships programme in CEIS, Capital City we did in West Lothian, and we've got a new programme in Dumfries and Galloway, and then CEIS in Ayrshire and Dumfries and Galloway. But employability being a huge aspect, the demand for young people to come into the sector, being well trained, competent, confident, is huge. The gaps in the construction sector workforce are phenomenal. The growth in renewables, the growth in the energy sector, the growth in the housing sector that's going to absolutely explode. We need people to come into the sector. And I have been a huge champion for employability filling that gap. And I think that's something there that is it's about how you approach the industry. Now, a lot of the tier ones are probably already working with skills and training providers that are social enterprises, but engaging with the level below us is a huge aspect. Engaging with Scottish Building Federation, Federation of Master Builders, engaging with local SMEs, promoting yourself to local businesses and local organisations that might be looking to recruit, might be looking to train, might be looking to upskill existing staff there. I think that's probably an untapped market. And it's a hard route in because those organisations don't have people like me to deal with that. But I definitely think that if you can provide a service to the kind of smaller, medium enterprise organisations there, then that'll increase the opportunities through that. I think we've had a huge amount of success with working with social enterprise and employability, and it's something there that we're really keen on driving forward and champion. And I think we've it's a well-promoted success story for us. We can take people who have been long-term unemployed, work with a number of different partners, whether it's CIS, Tigers, Capital City, and amongst others, train them up, get them out on site, and create real kind of tangible benefits there. That element of social value is a huge thing for the construction industry, coming from employability, well, social enterprise driven employability into jobs, into sustainable workforce. Huge social value generated for us in that sector. I really think that there's a huge talent pipeline needed to come in through that. And some of the young people in those pictures have moved into, promising careers. It is a real success story for the industry. Product supply. Now, our biggest spend with social enterprise is product supply. RSBI kitchens being the biggest thing. I think over the past 18 months, to approaching 2 years, we are about £400,000 spent with RSBI on kitchen supply. And that's part of our affordable housing projects. Every house that we build needs a kitchen, so it's a win-win for us. But we've also worked increasingly over the past couple of years with Scotland's Bravest for our signage. I'm looking at other kind of opportunities there for that. So I think product supply, if you've got organisations that supply products, and I'll say it again, everything results back to a balance between commercial viability and that kind of social value enterprise. But we are constantly demonstrating the kind of exceeding the client demands through being able to provide a quality product that's delivering real value back into the local area. It's creating jobs, it's creating opportunities. And again, we're starting to explore where other gaps are. So if there is product supply companies there that are connected there that think they can supply the industry, then we'd love to hear from them because we're actively having these conversations. I have to say, though, if it is about product and service supply, understanding timescales is huge. I've actually got in my wee kind of notes here about risk mitigation. Construction, for example, we are currently working with a social enterprise business that's providing us with a fencing contract there, and unfortunately they were unable to meet the demands of our construction programme, so we had to bring in another contractor to support that. It is something there, understanding that timescales move, deadlines increase, understanding the construction programme, understanding the timescales that are required there, is something there about us meeting a quality product, or us meeting the quality standards of our clients there. It is something there that we dabbled in as part of our contracts in North Lanarkshire, and unfortunately the kind of quality that we were getting back wasn't quite there, and it was purely down to about workforce numbers and timescales. Us maybe increasing the demands and increasing timescales perhaps didn't meet that kind of social enterprise model. So it's just to keep that in mind, that it's something there that as the pressure comes on to us as contractors, then we'll pass that pressure on to our supply chain. So if you are providing a service or products that are timescale limited, it is important that you bear that in mind. Engagement is a huge aspect. As I said there, we've very much open to having conversations. We've hosted a huge amount of meet the buyers. Jamie and I have met on the event circuit numerous times this year. But I think I thought it would be really important to touch on there is huge amounts of opportunity to engage with the construction industry. There are loads of contacts and stuff there. LinkedIn, social media is huge, and we're very much about blowing our own trumpet when it comes to engagement. But it is difficult. it's something there that probably needs a bit of a push for you guys to follow up. Because we'll sit through these engagement events with, 300 contacts, and unless something really jumps out, so then we're not going to follow up. And that's where I think it's really important about finding out how you can provide that business, that organisation, with a service, with that product that they need. Identifying what is the thing that they need, how to add value to your business, how do we provide you with a really competitive cost in the marketplace. It's something there that I think that probably needs a wee bit of polishing in terms of how organisations engage with us. So just coming up and saying we'll help you meet your social value obligations isn't really good enough. We need that kind of fact that we can provide you with this, this, and this, which is competitive in the marketplace and the services that you need. Case in point being our SBI kitchens. We've had numerous conversations about cost and how competitive they can be, and trying to get them kind of aligned to where we need to be in cost. Equally, we've had that same conversation with Scotland's Bravest for our signage, and the fact is that we're starting to have these conversations about being really competitive. And it probably leads us on to this. So if I can make any kind of recommendations for working with the construction industry, it's these, and these are based on the fact that, over the past couple of years, we're pushing nearly £1 million spent in 3 years with social enterprise. So it's very much focusing on that social value aspect, going beyond that bricks and mortar, finding out what maybe social value obligations these organisations have got, where they work. Does it meet a geographic requirement? For example, local supply. Does it meet recruitment standards? It's what is that sale? How do you approach the business? What is it that they're looking for, and how do you help address that? Tender readiness is something there that I think is something in our experience, is that community-based business is something there that they're just no tender ready. They don't understand their frameworks, they don't understand framework requirements. And there is a huge amount of support out there for this, but be open and honest. For example, we've been able to simplify your tendering process. We've been able to break down contractual elements. We've been able to split up different works packages so that we can have these conversations. So be open, have the conversations there that might be there. Reach out, get information, get tendered requirements. Reach out and ask for help, whether it's Business Gateway, Social Enterprise Scotland. There is tons of help there. Supplier development programs. There's loads of opportunities there about kind of getting that help, but really spend that time in being tender ready. For example, missing deadlines. We don't work to missing. If we've got a tender deadline, that's our tender deadline. So it's something there to be really conscious. I'm aware that the resource that it takes to maybe bid for contracts and go for contracts is huge. So have the honest conversations with the kind of main contractors to maybe break down take contract alternatives is something there as well. Now, we don't have requirements for things like construction line and stuff like that, but I'm aware some of the main contractors, the big tier ones, do. So ask for alternatives in terms of licenses, insurances, and accreditations. There might be willing to have these conversations. Employment and training there, I mentioned there we've had a huge success through employment and training and working with enterprise businesses, finding out what not just local authority contracts, but RSL, housing associations, public tenders, organisations like Scotland Excel, Scottish Procurement Alliance. I'll let you know what contracts are being up there. They're really good assets to have. Engaging with community wealth building people there for local authorities. getting inclusions in bid and tender documents for best practice guidance. These are all things there that I think are real kind of untapped resources, is getting in there, having the conversations, making clients and clients for your side of things, making clients aware of you're out there and you're actively looking to get on some of these kind of contracts, whether it's new build housing, infrastructure projects, etc. I think it's making clients aware that the provision that you can have. Find your niche. I mentioned there about us being able to break down bigger packages into smaller components. Find your niche is something there that I think is a huge aspect of social enterprise, whether it's goods, welfare support, skills and training, supply. I think there's huge aspects there, and have the conversations there. Diversify if it's something there that a business is particularly looking for. I mentioned there about employability is a huge aspect for us. Net zero being there with working with Community Wood. And I think it's there, it's just about finding out how you can provide that. Even down to things like welfare support within the construction sector, cleaning services, staff support, hospitality. These are things there that, that it might just be smaller end contracts, but again, they might lead to kind of bigger things or working with multiple contractors. Engagement is very much about getting out there, looking at procurement platforms, looking at engagement events there, finding out and following those up, for having those conversations, finding out named contacts. LinkedIn's a very good aspect to that, but very much about kind of following up on the engagement. So if you meet somebody at an event, follow up, engage with them, put people on your radar as much as possible, and put them on their radar. It does make a difference. We've got some good relationships that we've established there, and it's things there that, now that we've got those relationships, we're on multiple contracts with multiple supported businesses. And I think they are the kind of biggest things there that I would recommend for anybody who's considering working with the construction industry. That's me, Jamie.
Okay, thanks very much, Ross. If you could stop sharing then, Ross, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so Ross, thank you very much for that update, not just for the construction sector, but also a bit of a deep dive on the great work that McTaggart Construction have done, because you're correct, you were the first construction company to sign up to the Buy Social Pledge, and certainly the exploratory work that you've done to engage with the sector has been greatly appreciated and very impressive in terms of the, let's say, diversification of spend from existing supply chain to social enterprise supply chain, which really is kudos to you and the organisation. So I'm just conscious of the time here, so I think it's really important to obviously give our members and attendees the opportunity to ask any questions that they have on engaging with sort of construction sector, and hopefully Ross, between yourself and ourselves and anybody else on the call, we can answer these questions. So Colin, I've just seen your question come up on the chat straight away. So hi, Colin. So really, Colin's just asking, how to get in touch with yourself.
Yeah, I'll put my contact details in the chat, and then again, it's just about having these honest conversations. As I said there, if there is other organisations that think they can provide a service to McTaggart's, then please just reach out. We are in that journey there. We've obviously focused on big things, supply chain, supply products, recruitment being a huge aspect for us. But if people have got services and products, then we're willing to have these conversations.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else got any questions they'd like to put forward to Ross? Oh, here's Julie. So Julie's saying, we train young people in heritage, traditional construction skills, both as young employees and also school-age pupils. Do you offer work experience? So they can,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. So Julie, we deliver about 100 work placements per year. We're currently progressing about 1 in 5 into permanent jobs. Um, again, being an advocate for that is huge. We're working with Capital City Partnerships and a new employability programme in Dumfries and Galloway. That's which starts in January, and that's funded through CITB for the training element to it. So please, work placements driving forward that people coming into the industry, addressing social mobility, multiple barriers is exactly what we're trying to do through that. And if they're coming with additional training, so do they require CSCS cards? So technically no, but again, that's something there that so we fund a huge amount of CSCS training through employability partners. We'll fund, if we've got, for example, excuse me, in Dumfries and Galloway, we funded 12 young people to go through CSCS. So it's things there. If we can identify that we've got a training need and an employability gap, then we'll look at funding that. It's not a huge cost. Um, and I again things like welfare cleaning and stuff like that, we don't require CSCS for that element to it.
yeah. I'd just like to add as well, Julia, for Dumfries and Galloway, if that's obviously where you're located, Morgan Sindel, another pledge adopter, one of the big tier ones, they've obviously building the news at Dumfries High School, and I think they've got some more inquiries for other major capital build programs in Dumfries and Galloway. So I'm more than
Yeah,
happy to
Balfours are busy down
in
there.
there as well. Yeah,
Yeah, that Dumfries and Galloway's been highlighted as a kind of key area for housing development. We are live in 3 projects, Stranraer, Liswell, and then later, early next year, hopefully, Newton Stewart. So it's boom time in the borders in Dumfries and Galloway for the kind of housing sector.
yeah. So Julia, get in touch with myself, and I can put you in touch with Balfour Beatty and Morgan Sindel, or anybody else that would like to get sort of introductions there. Just scrolling down, June, you've asked a question here. Are there general criteria required for supplying, or are they particular to each region? Cybersecurity verification question mark.
Um, so for us, it's we don't have a kind of we've got a generic kind of onboarding process. Um, whether it's most of that is focused on a labour supply or goods supply. It isn't a complicated process. It's not a regional based thing. In terms of kind of cyber security, is that a particular service that you're providing, June? I can maybe. No. Just wondering where, like, the kind of whole what what we're seeing at the minute is we're starting to see like things like there's a lot more use of AI coming into our tender responses and that type of thing. So again, that's something there that are real assets there. We're currently working with a couple of AI providers on tender specific tools. So I think it's getting used to the language that the construction industry uses for really kind of I know through previous experience in working in the tier one sector, sometimes the onboarding process can be quite a complicated, daunting process. So things like AI tools and stuff can simplify that for you. And they are real assets for us in the business. But our onboarding process is really simple and it's a straightforward, you need this, or you'll get very clear feedback on that. Because it's designed that, as I said there, our minimum target is 40% local trade labour and supply wherever possible. So
Yeah.
It's this more simple we can make it, the better, and use these tools like AI to make that.
Yeah. In terms of the AI, that's quite a nice segue. I think Janice, my colleague, has already put up the notification of another sort of webinar that we've opened up to all of everybody on the call today and all our other membership. One of the other pledge adopters that we have within the construction sector is an organisation called Atkins Realis, and they're a sort of global project management organisation, and they're kindly offering our membership access to a session that they're running on AI on November the 25th. So
Right.
make sure and register for that, please. I think Janice has put the link in the chat stream there, so that'll be an invaluable
Yeah.
asset for ourselves as social enterprises to learn more about the tool and how the tool can actually support our business development. So that would be good. Okay, we've just got a few more questions here, so let's make sure everybody gets their questions asked and answered. So June, you've asked again in terms of training and skills, inclusion, neurodivergence. Is there a space for this, Ross?
So our employee well-being aspect is huge. I suppose it's whether it's relevant to us at that time. We kind of currently work with a lot of different training providers on that. So feel free, ping me a kind of email of products and services. I would say, June, that engagement with CITB is probably a great opportunity. I think it's that if you can go through CITB's employer networks and then that becomes an approved training provision through the employer networks, then the construction industry will only need to pay 30% of the cost because CITB will fund the other that. That's the way I would get into the construction industry through that.
Ross, you've primed me beautifully there, because CITB, we were present at their annual conference in Perth last month, and Social Enterprise Scotland, we've already had initial engagement with CITB with a view to obviously members of our EDI work group forum within Social Enterprise Scotland, with a view to looking at how can we get social enterprises to actually present themselves to CITB and their members. So June, again, reach out. You've got my email there. Reach out. More than happy to sort of link in with that as well.
Yeah, it's a huge aspect.
Okay, we've got a question here from Al at Community Gift Exchange. Does McTaggart onboard suppliers actually bidding, or also to build up a database of potential suppliers?
So it really depends on. So our bidding process is you need to be on our approved suppliers register, and then we'll send you tender inquiries for that. That's the kind of simplified process. It's quite simple for us. Once you're on the system, if you can provide that supply, then you'll get that opportunity to price. If it is small scale products and services, then once you're in that approved supplier, if you meet a regional content or something like that, for example, a skills and training being a huge aspect of that, we'll just go direct to you as that supplier, because you've got that local aspect and it's a minimal cost there. If it's probably anything below a couple of £1,000 there, we're going direct to those that we know that can meet that obligation and provide us with that quality goods or service. It's quite a simple process for us, and we've got the benefit that we're not a big multinational. Our procurement systems aren't controlled by down south or whatever. It's local people, and we can pick the phone up and get things done.
Okay, thanks, Ross. Any other questions from the floor? No. Okay, well, we've got a few minutes left, so if you don't mind, I'll just quickly provide a quick overview of. Hopefully that's coming up on the screen now. Can everybody see the Biosocial Yep, yep. Okay, so obviously, just to give a quick overview, Buy Social is a sort of project initiative. Social Enterprise UK, Social Enterprise Scotland are running, and obviously we are working with external stakeholders and partners to support their procurement and purchasing departments to make the connection of social value through procurement, and obviously to make a difference to the communities that the social enterprises are based in. Obviously, we promote having a diverse and inclusive supply chain to these external partners. We support from the demand side the partners to engage with our membership, and we support our membership from the supply side to engage with the partners. And as I mentioned, it's all about embedding best practice, diversity, and inclusion into their supply chain for the benefit of supporting the social enterprises and the communities that these enterprises are based in. There's 5 points of the pledge. So Ross sort of mentioned there that obviously they were the first construction company to sign up to the pledge. So the themes are around recognising fair work, reducing the environmental impact, supporting social enterprises into the supply chain, ensuring prompt payment. I'm delighted that obviously Ross was mentioning there the percentage of payment under 30 days to support the cash flows of social enterprises, and then to measure the positive impact that the pledge adopters are having through engagement with our sector. And Janice and I and Nia, we're currently in the process of collating a quick update from our pledge adopters, and the spend, we're delighted to say, is significantly increasing within our sector. A lot of talk just now around obviously community wealth, and obviously there's the consultation going through the Scottish Parliament at present regarding the new Community Wealth Bill. And what we're seeing when we're engaging with the demand side and our external partners is there's great alignment for us as social enterprises when we are sort of doing our business development and engagement with the demand side. Buy Social, it aligns really neatly with all around, strengthening the local economy. It's all around the fair work and skills, and Ross mentioned all about all the training and apprenticeships that they're engaging with the social enterprises. We're all looking at social and environmental impact. We're looking at inclusive and democratic business model engagement, and supporting, obviously, organisations to deliver on their CSR and ESG goals. And we have to, constantly, make sure and ensure that our members are aware that, a good number of our external partners and stakeholders, when they win public sector contracts, they have got contractual requirements and obligations to engage with the sector as well. So we're helping them to actually meet these targets and goals. We've now got over 48 organisations that have signed up to the pledge, and that's just a cross section there. We're trying to show that obviously we've got organisations from public sector, from private sector, from academia. Delighted that obviously Leanne from the NHS is on the call today, because the NHS are going to be one of the key drivers of the Community Wealth Bill with the local authorities. So great that the NHS are now starting to engage with the process with the project initiative as well. Just quickly wrap it up, just some future events to be aware of. Obviously, October the 28th is Procurex Scotland at the SEC in Glasgow there. I've got the hyperlink in the presentation that we'll put out with following the call here. Free, obviously, for third sector organisations to go along to Procurex. So make sure, if you're able to, get along to Procurex. Nearly all public sector organisations will be represented at this event, plus other supply chain to public sector. So a great opportunity for you to go along and do some business development work there for your social enterprise. We've already mentioned in the project notes, we've got the second sort of webinar lined up there for November the 19th, where we're delighted that we've got Mary Mitchell, who's the Chief Procurement Officer for Scotland Excel. They're the Scottish Government Centre of Procurement Excellence, representing all the local authorities in Scotland. She's going to come on, and similar to Ross has done today, and just give our members that have sort of signed up for the webinar an overview of public sector tendering and contracts for our membership in Scotland. We've already mentioned we've got a sort of artificial intelligence opportunity webinar there with Atkins Realis. So again, please sign up for that webinar. We are also obviously in early discussions, as I mentioned, with some of our other external stakeholders to hold further webinars after Christmas as well for different sectors of the economy. Another key point that we need to raise, if you haven't already done so, but we are about to relaunch our catalogue for social enterprises across Scotland in November. And delighted that we've got over 100 new social enterprises that have submitted submissions to be added into that catalogue for the November refresh. So if you're a sort of Scottish social enterprise that's on this call today and you haven't done so already, please get in touch with Janice and I very, very quickly to ensure that your organisation gets listed in the November catalogue. So look, I'm just conscious of time. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to you all for signing up to this webinar today. I hope that you found joining worthwhile. I hope that you learned some new tips and advice from Ross for engaging with the construction sector. And I think the most important thing that I like to hope from these events is that it actually gives you encouragement and motivation to do so as well. I've left, obviously, my contact details and my colleague Janice's contact details there, which will go out as part of the post-event sort of email. So please reach out to Janice and I if you've got any questions around engaging with the construction sector or any of our other pledge partners. We're more than happy to help you. So again, just look a huge thank you for coming on to today's call. It's greatly appreciated, and hope to see you again at either Procurex. Come along to the stand. We'll have a wee stand at Procurex. Come along and say hello. And if not, on November the 19th for our session with the public sector. So thank you very much and goodbye.